I think ace-6 offsuit's a decent candidate for a 3-betting hand. I haven't been 3-betting too much. I think my stats worked out to about 14% or so over the course of this video. Top right table, against a lot of players, I would consider raising a board like this. Okay, well, I don't think that's good. But yeah, against a lot of players, I'd consider raising a board like this, but ADZ is just really suspicious, and he's willing to bet call ace highs and make my life miserable, or 3-bet the flop and stuff like that. So for the most part, I'm going to be trying to just play solidly on boards like this and hoping to capitalize when I do hit hands. But I'm not going to just completely sit back and wait for a hand. But the reason I don't really like floating against him is because he's just been barreling so many turns. So yeah, he barrels this turn, and I think I've got to fold, even though I turn a gut shot. Bottom right table, if we had 100 big blinds, I'd be very liable to check raise a hand like this against ADZ just because he's so suspicious. But with 200 big blinds, I think my life becomes just way too difficult if I do check raise it. Although I don't think it's like the worst play. It just would lead to a lot of really tough spots. So on the bottom left table, ADZ is the type of player to bluff with pairs a lot, as I've said throughout the other videos. So it's not a spot where I'd where I'd try and make a big call down with ace high or king high or something like that, although king high was a pair, I think. And I'm going to avoid making super light call downs against him in general. Top right table, even though we're 200 big blinds deep, I'm actually going to raise call it, because it goes back to what I was saying on the king 7-5 board earlier when I had queen 9. He's just a very suspicious player, and he's not going to give me credit, so I think he'll be willing to stack off with a lot worse than ace 7, even though we're 200 big blinds deep. So I'm guessing I'm going to raise him and be pretty happy getting it in. Okay, bottom right table. So in his mind, it looks like I have an ace a lot, and it just becomes a leveling decision. Does he think I'm going to call with that ace? And I actually think if I was going back in time, I'd call, given what I've seen from ADZ. He knows I have an ace, and he thinks, oh, I'm going to bet a humongous amount, 2x pot, and he's just going to fold his entire range, and I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's what he's thinking, and I would call him, but I don't think I had that read on him yet. And I'm pretty sure I folded. But I would call if I was going back in time. You know, against a standard opponent, you'd think, oh, this is a spot where he's overbetting for value because it looks like I've got top pair and I'm not going to fold. But against ADZ, I think he's thinking that I will fold with top pair if he bets big enough. Okay, so top right table, I raise him and he just calls, and I think when he just flats the flop there, I've got the best hand almost always. And with 200 big blinds, I'm just going to keep barreling him here, I think. If we were shallower, I'd consider checking back and just trying to get the money in on the river, but that's not really an option with these stack sizes. And I think if I check back to turn and then bet shove over his bet on the river or something, it'll look really strong. I could have bet a bit smaller on the turn there, I think, but oh well. And now there's not much to do, but just shove it in. Bottom left, I'll be betting, and I'll be betting a fair amount of rivers. And I'm going to value bet on the bottom right. Bottom left, I'd probably fold if he bet. I think that's a value bet on his part. I think he's got the best hand almost always there. Top right, I think I like a fold. I think he's betting this for value with that sizing. I think if he bet a lot larger, that he might just be trying to completely run me over. But with that size, I think he's just trying to value bet in a spot that might look a little bluffy. So bottom right, I flop an open ender, although it's a pretty bad open ender. But we're deep, and I think he's suspicious enough that he'd still pay me off if I hit it. I briefly consider 3-betting the flop. I don't really love it, although with 200 big blinds, you'd have more flexibility in making plays like that, and 3-bet folding draws and whatnot. So on the top right, I fold, which I think is the right play. So I turn my straight on the bottom right, but I think that if I raise, it's overrepresenting my hand, and that I don't have the right dynamic to get away with a raise looking bluffy. So I think I just want to flat, let him keep bluffing, and avoid owning myself or scaring away some of his worst hands for value. Bottom left, very good flop, very happy sticking the money in. I'm going to keep barreling on the bottom left, and if he sticks it in, I'll probably call him off. I'm assuming he's doing that with enough draws or maybe random 8s and stuff like that. So I'm going to bet the turn, and if he shoves, I won't be thrilled, but I'll call. And I'll shove a decent amount of rivers.